Greetings. This is Black Women's Health Podcast, and I'm Dr. Rahman. Today we will be talking about a very delicate topic, and that's the use of tampons. The use of tampons is actually very common. Just so that we are all on the same page, the tampon is that plug that gets put into your vagina. It's made out of absorptive material. There's usually an inner core with an outer covering, a string attached, and sometimes there's an applicator. It's estimated that somewhere between 50 to 86% of women in the US routinely use tampons. It is the number one most commonly used feminine hygiene product. It's also used frequently in the United Kingdom and the European Union. And given that periods usually start at about the age of 12, and they will continue every month until the age of 50. That translates into the use of a lot of tampons in the life of a woman. And given this high use of tampons in the United States, in the European Union, in the United Kingdom, the question, in addition to the chemicals, which we really don't want in our tampons, whether there were metals in these products. And the question is, how do metals or metalloids get into a tampon manufacturing and the processing? So a group of 16 different metals, including arsenic, copper, cadmium, and lead, were tested to see if any of these 16 metals could be detected in tampons. And the tampons were acquired from a variety of places. They were organic tampons and inorganic tampons and store tampons versus brand name tampons versus tampons which came with applicators versus tampons without an applicator versus tampons which were manufactured in the United States versus the European Union versus the UK. So a diverse group of tampons were gathered, and they were all tested to see if any of them contained any of the 16 metals in this study. So there was a total of 60 tests done using tampons from a variety of sources, and the results showed that all 16 metals were detected in all of the tampon samples. It didn't matter whether it was organic or inorganic. It didn't matter if it was store-bought or a brand name. It didn't matter if it was made in the UK or the United States. All tampons, all tested tampons were positive for all of the 16 metals used in this experiment. And this included lead. And what's striking about that is lead is a toxic metal. There is no documented safe level of lead, yet lead was detected in all of the tampon samples. What are we doing? The concern is that if we put these vaginal plugs in at the time of our menses, starting at the age of 12 every month up until menopause, we will be potentially exposing ourselves to these metals throughout our lives. And what we know about lead is that lead can have multiple deleterious effects within the body. What the study documented was that lead was present and 15 other metals were present in all tested tampons. What this study did not show is that as a result of that, women had increased levels or had detectable levels of these metals in their blood. And that's because that test wasn't done, but is in fact what we are concerned about. And so this study means that we need to confirm our fears. We need to document whether or not there is lead exposure when you use a tampon. We need to document whether that lead exposure leads to increased lead levels or other metallic, increased levels of other metals as a result of using tampons. This is something that does not routinely get tested, has not. This is the first published study of metals in tampons. And the question is, what can we do about it? Well, the first thing is we need to replicate the study to see, is this in fact true, that on repeat testing, all tampons showed evidence of metals. Particularly, we need to document whether or not all tampons show evidence of lead. If they do, then we need to hold the manufacturers accountable for this, because this is not good. This is something that we should not ignore. We already know that there are chemicals, and now we're seeing evidence that there may very well be toxic metals in the tampons. And this is something that we need to address. Address it for ourselves, for our daughters, to make sure there's no adverse effect as a result of using tampons. Until the next time, this is Dr. Rahman.